All right, welcome back, guys. So we're going to continue with the project, and we are going to go to our styles.css, and let's begin. So I'm going to start here, and let me come to the project so we can actually see what we're doing. So first off, I think I'm going to expand the browser just a little bit more. Then I'm shrinking my code editor. I should have actually done that before starting, but that's fine. So let's start by giving the body a background color. So just a background of our dark gray color. Save that and voila. Okay, great. Then we are going to center everything. So if you remember, we had this class of container and box. So we're going to use this box to center everything. So I'll come and use my flex snippet, and here I'll just change it to box. Save, and I think there's something extra I need to add: width 100, height, display flex, justify content. Okay, yeah, I think it's yeah. So you see it's centered, right? It's because the browser width was small, that's why it looks like it was not centered. Okay, so it's centered. Then we're going to go straight to the music div. So the music, which is the next div anyway, music. And for that, first off, let's set the position to relative, because we're going to be doing a lot of absolute positioning in this project. Then let's give it a background of white. Okay, then I'll give it a width of 25 rem. I'll give it a border radius of 5 pixels and some padding, which I'll just set to 1 rem. Lastly, I'll set the overflow to hidden, but I think I'll comment this out first, and I hope I don't forget to uncomment it out. Okay, now there's something I'm going to do now, right? And that is this playlist. Let me come to my index HTML and show you, right? We have a music div, right, that contains two main components: the music player and the music playlist. Yeah, this one, the music playlist, right? So what we're going to do now is this music playlist, we're going to hide it, right? So we're going to give it and use an absolute positioning to hide it. So let me just a minute. Okay, so I'll come back here, and I would actually like to just come down, right? The idea is I'm going to come down a lot, and let me add a comment here. The comment is going to say music playlist. Okay, so I would then say dot music hyphen playlist, and then I'll do a position of absolute. I'll say from the top I want it to be 0. From the left I also want it to be 0. Okay, I'll do a padding of 1 rem as well. Then I'll do a background of, I'll use RGBA. So by the way, this is what I'm trying to achieve, everything you see here. So I'll do RGBA and 000, not 000, but 000, and then the opacity is going to be 0.9. Okay, then I will do a width, come on, width of 100%. Let me put that on a new line, and then the height also is going to be 100%. Okay, then I will then transform it. Okay, so transform translate on the x-axis, and I want to move it out of the page. So I'll say minus 100%. Okay, then I'll set a transition property on this of all and 0.5 seconds. Okay, save that, and oh, I need to be here. And what's going on here? Music playlists. Let me save it again. Oh, it's not even refreshing when I save it. Okay, so there's something wrong here. So because this is the playlist and it's still showing here, even though we've given it a position of absolute. So let me take a look at my index HTML and be sure. So it's a div here, and it has a class of music-playlist. I don't think I added it. So there's a dot here. Okay. Something is definitely wrong here, and I'm trying to figure it out. You know what? For this music playlist, I'll make it to have a dark background. So I'll say 1, save, and it's not even picking. Something is definitely wrong here, and I don't know what it is. Music playlist, let me come here. After looking at this thing for a couple of minutes, I actually saw where I did a typographical error. And here on my index HTML, I have music playlist instead of music playlist. Wow. Okay, I'm going to type my L there and save. Okay, and just like that, we don't have the music playlist on the page anymore. So I think at this point we can actually shrink up the browser, because we now have something very small. So let me just shrink it up, and it's okay like this. So if I comment out this overflow hidden and save, you'll see the music playlist on this side, right? So I just wanted to show you that. Okay, well, if I'm going to put the music playlist, then I may as well just increase this a little bit. So this is the playlist here. Okay, all right, so let's continue. All right, so I would come down here, and I would immediately go into the music player settings or styles. So come if you come inside the music here, you see that the first component we have is a music player. Okay, there's nothing to do in the music player, so I'm just going to go straight to the header, right? And I'll continue from there. So let me minimize this, go to my styles, and I'll just see dot header. Okay, so everything we're doing will be seen here as we make changes. So for the header, I'm going to set a display flex, and I would justify content to space between. I would align items to center, and I would set a margin on the bottom. This is going to be set to 1 rem. I'll save that, and now you see what we have here. Okay, great. Now let's add some styles for the fonts or some icons inside of the header. So I would come down here, I'll say dot header and dot fas. So it's going to be common to both of them. This one, I'm just going to set a font size of 1.6 rem. Okay, I'll save that, and okay, so that's a lot better. So then for this one here, the fa bars that should be clickable, I would come here, I'll say dot fa hyphen bars, and I'll set the cursor to pointer. Okay, So if you hover on it, it looks like it's clickable. Okay, yeah. Now let's target the h2, or maybe, well, yeah. So I'll come here, I'll say dot header and h2. I don't want to do much here. I'll just set a font size and a font weight. So font size I'll set to 1.6 rem. Font weight I'll set to 400. Save. Okay. Alright, so I think we're done with the header. Now the next thing we have to style is the details section. Let me show you. So after the header here, the next thing we have is the details. Okay, and the details has these three components: the image and some text. Okay, so let's go and let me just add a comment here. So details, and I would say dot details. I'll give it a margin of 2 rem on the top and bottom, 0 left and right. I'll set the text align to center. Save that, and voila. Okay, so next we have the image. I mean, that's the first thing we have inside of the details. So let's add some styles for that. So img, and this one we are going to set a width of, so I'll say width, and I'll just do 70%. Okay, then I'm going to give it a border. So border 3px solid, and I'll use my color secondary. Then I'll give it some margin on the bottom. So I'll just say MB margin bottom, and I'll do 1 rem. Save that, and voila. Except that we don't have the 3 in front of this px. Save that, and there you have our image. Okay, so next we are going to target the artist. So I would say dot details and artist. Oh, this should be dot artist. It's a class, and basically I'll just reduce the font size to 1.2 rem. I'll set the font weight to 600, and I'll set the color to blue. Okay, so I actually have the blue. It's not the exact shade of blue I have on the project, so I got something else. Okay, so this is it, right? Yeah. So next we're going to go into these controls, right? So I'll come here and I'll say, let me add a comment. I'll say controls, and it has a class of controls plural. So let me just actually confirm that from the markup. So after the details we have the controls. Okay, all right, so we're on track. So our controls is going to have a background of dark gray. Okay, we're going to do some padding. Padding is going to be 2 rem top and bottom, 1 rem left and right. Then I'm going to do a border radius. Okay, so this one is going to be on the top left and right. So I'll do 5 rem 5 rem 0 0. Save that, and this is what we have. Okay, then so what do we have next? We have the song timer, right? So I'll come here and I'll say dot song hyphen timer, and for that we're going to do display flex. Okay, I think first let's make the color white so we can actually see what we are display flexing. So white, you see what we have there. Then we're going to then do display and do flex. Justify content is going to be space between. We're going to give it a, let me save that first. Okay, then we're going to give it a what's it called, a font weight. So let's just make it a bit bold. So font weight is going to be set to 600. Right, let me save that. Then I'll set some margin. So margin of 1 rem and 0. Okay, so to push it down a little bit. I think that's it for this one. It's fine like this. So what do we have next? So next we have this inputs, right? And let me just show you. So after the song timer, we have this duration, and inside the duration we have input. Okay, so but because we have two inputs and I want the styles to affect both, I'm just going to target the inputs directly. Okay, so here let me shrink this up. So here I would say you know what, I think I am going to just expand this my code editor so that I don't have to be, so I'll shrink this up, yeah, like this. Great. So here I'm going to say input. So let me just add a comment here and say range slider, just to, you know, so I'll say input, and particularly let me just be specific and say that I want the input with a type of, so type equal to, and I'll say range. Okay, let's open up and we're going to do a width. So width, oh, first we're going to do a WebKit. So appearance, actually appearance of none. Then I'll do a width of 50%. Outline I'll set to none. Then I'll give it a height of 2 pixels, and I'll set some margin. So margin is going to be 0 and I'll say 10%. Okay, all right, great. So now let's further add the thumb, the slider thumb. So I'll just grab this input here and I'll come down here, paste that in, and I'll then do this. I'll say WebKits. Okay, so WebKit hyphen slider. I'm actually waiting for autocorrect. Slider thumb. Okay, so appearance I'll set to none, and I'll give it a height of 20 px 20 px, sorry. Okay, then I'll give it a width also of 20 px. Okay, let's just make this easier. 2 rem. Okay, then we're going to do a background of, let's grab that blue we used up here. So we're going to use the same blue here. Then we're going to set a border radius of 50% and cursor set to pointer. Okay, so you see we have this guy here. Okay, then wait, let me see something. Let me come up here. So I'm going to increase this to 80% and save. Okay, great. So you see now we now have it spread out. Okay, then what do we have next? Okay, the buttons, this button section. So I'll come here, say buttons, and everything is inside a class of buttons, plural. Okay, so first off, let's do a text align and set it to center, and everything is in the center, right? Then I'll do a margin. So margin is going to be 2 rem on the top and bottom, and then I'll say auto on the left and right. Okay, so you see now it's well spaced out. So margin 2 rem auto, then we're going to give it a width of 60%. Then let's do some padding. Padding is going to be 5px and 0. Let's do a background. Background is going to be white color. Then we're going to do a border radius of 5px as well. Save that, and this is what we have, right? But then there's something I'm already seeing here, like this range slider. This one is too large, right? We want this to be small. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to come to this range slider, this first one here, and we're going to set it to be 50%. Okay, then we are then going to just grab this guy, and then below this one we'll first enter into the duration div, right? So this duration here that has this input for this first one, we'll come there, we'll say dot duration, and then we'll just paste in the input, and then we'll come here, let's grab this width property, Control C, and let's paste it here and make it 80% here. Okay, if we save that, only this one will be 80%, this other one will be 50%. Okay, that's because we're specific here. Okay, so for the button, I think we can continue. Yeah, so we're going to add some styles that will be common to all the components inside of this buttons div. That's all the button components. So I'm going to come here like this. I'll say dot buttons, and I'll say all the children. So I'm going to get rid of all the border. So border, I'll set it to none. I'll do the same for outline, set it also to none. I'll give them a background of white. Then I'll do some padding. Padding is going to be 1 rem. Cursor is going to be set to pointer. Then I'll give it a color of dark gray. Save that, and you see we now have it looking like this. Okay, so now we're then going to target the play button specifically. So I'll then come here and say dot play, which is the class for the play button, and I'll give it a background of blue. So where's that my blue color? This one we've been using. I'll copy it and I'll come here and paste that in, save that, and we have this guy here. Okay, so but then I'll give it a width of 4 rem, and I'll do the same for the height. Okay, I'm sure you can guess what I want to do. I want to do a border radius of 50%, and it will become a circle. Okay, now I'll then change the color of that play button to white. Save that, and voila. Okay, now I think we are in this play all button. So I remember it has a class of play all, so I'll say dot play hyphen all, right? And I'll do a display of block. Okay, then I'll do margin 0 and auto. That's gonna center it, put it in the center. Okay, before you do margin of 0 and auto, you have to set the display to block first. Okay, now let's do some padding. Padding is going to be set to 3 pixels. I definitely need a new keyboard because this one is just so 3 pixels, and I'll set the cursor to pointer. I think the cursor is already set to pointer. Let me see. Oh, it's not. Cursor to pointer. Then I'll get rid of the border. and the so border none, and then I'll give it a border radius of 3px. Save, and voila, so this is what we have. Okay, so now I think we're in this volume section here, right? So I'll come down here and I'll add a comment and say volume. So first off, let's target the volume, not column but volume. Okay, so for the volume we're going to do a display flex because they are all in a container div that has the class of volume. So if I say display and set it to flex, and if you even save that, right, so they will be side by side, right? Anyway, since I'm here, let me just finish here. I'll say justify content, I'll set it to center, align items, set it to center, then I'll set a margin. So margin is going to be set to 2 rem on the top, 0 on the left, 1 rem on the bottom, 0 on the 0 on the right and left. So you save that, and this is what we have, right? Okay, so we still have these two guys here to style. So the first is the paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, I'll say dot volume and the paragraph, right? I would give it a background. So background of, where is that my blue color? Let me find it. So this blue, so it's a recurring color, right? If I just didn't want to add it, like I don't want to add a fresh variable, if not I would have just added a new variable, right? So I don't want to add any new variable. Anyway, I'll give it a background of blue, and that's it. Then I'll give it a color of white. Okay, then let's add a font size of 1.4 rem. Then let's add a height of 2 rem, I think. Let's do some padding of 0 top and bottom, 3px left and right, and let's do some margin on the right to 8px. Save, and now this is what we have. Okay, 8. Save. Okay, great. So now the next thing we need to do is the volume icon, this one here. So I'm going to do dot volume and so let me scroll down a bit, and I'm going to give it a background of secondary color. Let's give it a color of white as well. Save that and let's see. Okay, let's give it a font size of, I think, 1.2 rem. Then let's give it a height is going to be 8 pixels, same as the one below. Oh, height is going to be 2 rem, sorry, 2 rem. Let me save that and see what it looks like. Okay, great. Then we're going to do a padding of 0 top and bottom, 3px left and right. Let's do some margin on the right, so margin right of 8 pixels as well. That's what I actually thought about. Come on, margin right of 8 pixels. Okay, then let me save that. So you see now it's at the top. There's a property, let me try this property, vertical align middle. It doesn't work, right? So I'm going to use the display flex here. Okay, I would justify content to Ctrl Z, justify content to center, align items to center, and lastly I'll set the cursor to pointer. If you save that, it will center the icon inside. Okay, All right, so okay, so but the margin, the space between this volume range slider and this guy is too much. So you know what I'm going to do? Let me just actually just find. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this guy, save myself some time. I'll paste it here and I'll change this to volume. Sorry, I'll change this to volume and I'll change the property here to margin and I'll set it to 0. Save that and voila. Okay. All right, so basically I think we are done with the music player section, right? So what we need to do style next is the playlist section, which is this guy that is on this hidden here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this playlist section here and I'm going to comment out the transform. So by commenting out the transform, we now have the playlist section on this guy, and of course I will not forget to make this 0.9, so it's going to be see-through. Okay, okay, well, let's just actually start styling some of the properties fast. So the header has a modifier class of playlist header, right? So I'm just going to quickly change the color to white so we can start appreciating. So you can see the color has been changed to white and we have the components here. Okay, then what else do I want to say? Okay, I'm going to do some padding here. So padding of 5 pixels. Definitely need a new mouse. So 5 pixels, and I'll do some border on the bottom. So this one is going to be 1px solid, and let me just do gray, right? Okay, so you see we have this gray guy here. Okay, so now I want this close icon here to have a cursor pointer so that it looks clickable. So I would say let me just start from the playlist header and .fa -times. Now set the cursor to pointer, save that, and yeah, so that's better. Okay, so great. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to, where is it? Let me just scroll down. So this is the playlist, right? We've styled the header. So now we have this playlist div that contains the playlist, right? So this is what we're going to style next. So I'll copy that. I'll come here and paste it in. And this one I'll give it a width of 100% and a height of 80% of the viewport height, so 80 VH, right? And I'll set the overflow to, sorry, that should be overflow -y to auto. Now the reason why I'm actually setting the overflow to auto is because when you have like let's say you have like 200 songs, everything is not going to fit in here, so you want to make this playlist div scrollable, right? So and we've done this scroll thing a lot of times, right? Making a component scrollable. First you set the overflow to white and then you set the WebKit scroll bar property and all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that those properties, okay, and I'll just paste them in. But I don't think we're done with the playlist div, so let's finish up for the, so after this playlist div, the next thing we have is playlist. So let me just show you so we can know where we are. So this is where we are now, playlist. So for the playlist, I'll set the display to flex, and I would align items to center, and I will give it a color of white. So you see, this is what we have now here. So but before we even move on, this playlist is what we want to be scrollable, right? Let me just see. Sorry, not the playlist, the playlist div. That's why we said the overflow white to auto. Okay, so I'm just going to come down here and paste in the function CSS properties that will make it scrollable if there's excess content inside of it. So I'll paste them. So you see, this is playlist scroll bar, right? So there's going to be scroll bar track, scroll bar thumb. So if we save that, you're not going to see anything yet, but if we have excess content here, then it will be scrollable. Okay, that's if we have maybe like 200 songs, you see that you'll be able to scroll down and scroll through it. Okay, so this is just the CSS properties. I'm only pasting this because we've done it multiple times in previous projects. Okay, if not, I don't think I've pasted any code in like that, like this before. Okay, so let's continue. So after the playlist, we have the song index, which represents this one here. So let me show you. So you see we have the song index and the single song. So here I'll come down here, I'll say dot song hyphen index. Okay, so for this one I'll give it a font size of 1.4 rem, and I'll set the margin on the right to 5 pixels, so 5px. Okay, let me save that, and you see what we have there. Okay, so the last one we have is the single hyphen song. Okay, this one, well, I actually did not give it a single. I can actually do single song, but what I did was I just said dot playlist and it's a paragraph, so I just targeted the paragraph, which is, I think, is better. So this paragraph here, now this single song, we're going to use it in the JavaScript, but of course I don't necessarily have to use it in the CSS. Okay, so for this one I'll give it a width of 90%, and I'll give it a font size of 1.4 rem. Let's set the color is already set to white. Let's give it a border on the bottom, so border bottom, and I'll do 1px solid and gray. I'll do some padding of 5 pixels, 0, and I'll set the cursor to pointer. Save, and this is what we have. Okay, so when we use JavaScript to loop through our songs, right, this is how they're going to be displayed here, such that if you click on this, you'll be able to play it. Okay, all right, so at this point I think we're done with this area here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to hide this playlist. So let me scroll up, and this transform, I would comment it out so it goes out like that. And then this well, I think I can leave it like this for now, right? But to make it hidden, what I need to do is to set the overflow for the music div, music class rather, this one, this overflow. I'll just uncomment it out, and you will not see that guy there again. But for now I think I can still just leave it here. Okay, so we're done with the CSS section, right? And in the next one we're going to write the JavaScript logic for this very wide project. All right, see you there.